All right, let's jump right in. When you hear the word cybersecurity, your mind probably goes to a lot of complex technical stuff, right? But what if we thought about it differently? Not as some dry tech problem, but more like, well, like the ancient art of building a fortress, a digital one to protect everything we care about online. And that really is the big question, isn't it? We live in this world where we're always connected, but what does being secure in that world actually look and feel like? Before we even start laying the first brick of our fortress, it's worth taking a second to think about what it is you're trying to protect in the first place. So, here's our game plan for today. This is the blueprint. First, we're going to lay the foundations for our digital fortress. Then, we'll get to know the enemy. What are the threats out there? After that, we'll look at the specific attacks they use. Then we'll cover what to do when the alarm sounds, and finally, we'll walk through the actual battle plan, the step-by-step guide for when things go wrong. Okay, first things first. Every fortress, whether it's made of stone or code, needs a rock-solid foundation. In cybersecurity, that foundation rests on three fundamental ideas. People in the biz call it the CIA triad, and honestly, this is the bedrock of pretty much everything else we're going to talk about. So pillar number one is confidentiality. You can just think of this as the secrecy rule. It's all about making sure that your private information stays private. Simple as that. It's like a sealed letter. It's only meant for the person it's addressed to. I mean, here's a perfect example. Your grades in school. You wouldn't want those posted on a public bulletin board for the whole world to see, right? Of course not. That info is just for you and maybe a few authorized people like your teachers. That's confidentiality in a nutshell. All right, on to our second pillar, integrity. Look, if confidentiality is all about keeping secrets, integrity is all about trust. It's the guarantee that the information you're seeing is the real deal. It's accurate, it's correct, and nobody has messed with it. And believe me, the stakes here can be incredibly high. We're not just talking about numbers on a screen. Imagine a hacker changing a patient's medical file, deleting their allergy to penicillin. A tiny malicious change like that could literally be a matter of life and death. This is why data integrity is it's absolutely non-negotiable. And that brings us to our third and final pillar, availability. This one's pretty straightforward, really. Can you actually get to your stuff when you legitimately need it? Because great security isn't just about locking things down. It's also about making sure the right people can get through the right doors at the right time. Here's a great way to think about it. If a university's main website goes down, yeah, that's annoying. It's an inconvenience. But what if the system that lets students and staff log into their accounts goes down? Well, now nobody can submit assignments, check grades, or do any work. The whole place grinds to a halt. That's an availability crisis. Okay, so our foundation is poured. We've got our three pillars: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now it's time to peer over the fortress walls and understand the forces that are trying to break in. It's time to know your enemy. You know, risk isn't just some big, scary word. It's something we can actually break down. It's really just a simple formula. The chance of a bad thing happening, multiplied by how much you value what you'd lose. We do this kind of calculation all the time without even thinking about it, right? When you cross the street, you're weighing the probability of a car coming against the value of your own safety. It's the same idea. So how do the bad guys actually get in? Well, they hunt for vulnerabilities. These are the cracks in our fortress walls. And here's the thing, they aren't always what you'd expect. Sure, they can be technical things, like a bug in the code, but they can also be about process, like someone forgetting to install a critical software update. They can even be organizational, like a company that just doesn't have good security policies. All right, we know where our weak spots might be. Now, let's peek inside the attacker's toolbox and see what kinds of weapons they're using to exploit those weaknesses. First up, one you've definitely seen before, phishing. Now, this isn't some super sophisticated technical hack. It's a con job, pure and simple. It's social engineering. An attacker pretends to be someone you trust, your bank, maybe even your boss, all to trick you into handing over your password or your financial info. You know the email I'm talking about, right? It always looks something like this. It screams urgency, it tries to make you panic. The whole goal is to get you to click that link before you have a chance to think it through. That's the bait on their hook. Next up is a really nasty one, ransomware. If phishing is a con job, ransomware is basically digital kidnapping. An attacker sneaks software onto your computer that locks up all of your files, making them totally inaccessible. Then they demand money to give you the key. Your own data is held hostage. And this This is what you see when it happens. Just a cold, brutal message splashed across your screen. All of your important files, gone. And there's a ticking clock pressuring you to pay up. It's a digital shakedown. Okay, so let's say the worst has happened. An attacker has used one of these tools, and they've gotten through your defenses. The alarm bells are screaming. What now? What does it mean to be breached? And this is where we have to be really clear on our terms. See, there's a huge difference between an event and an incident. Your laptop running a little slow? That's an event. But a hospital getting locked out of all its patient records by ransomware? That is an incident. It's a confirmed breach that poses a real threat to the whole operation. It's go time. When an incident hits, the first casualty is usually calm. Panic can set in really fast. And that is exactly why you need a playbook. You need a calm, methodical, step-by-step plan that everyone knows how to follow. Think of it as the fire drill for a cyber attack. This playbook usually has 6 stages. First is preparation. That's all the work you do before an attack even happens. Then comes identification, figuring out if this is a false alarm or the real deal. Once it's confirmed, you move to containment. You have to stop the bleeding and keep the problem from spreading. After that, it's eradication, getting the attacker and their malicious software out of your systems for good. Next is recovery, carefully bringing everything back online. And finally, arguably the most important step of all, lessons learned, where you figure out exactly how this happened so you can make sure it never happens again. Now, all of those steps are absolutely vital when you're in the middle of a crisis, no question. But if you take a step back and think about it, which one of those 6 stages do you think is the most critical for the long-term strength of your fortress? Is that last one, lessons learned? Why? Because this is where you actually get stronger. This is where you take a painful, stressful crisis and turn it into a powerful learning experience. You analyze the attack, you find the crack in the wall they got through, and you seal it up, making your fortress even tougher than it was before. And that really brings us full circle. Building your digital fortress isn't a one-and-done kind of job. You don't just build the walls and then walk away. The threats out there are constantly changing, constantly evolving, always looking for a new way in. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, are your defenses evolving too? Because in this digital world, the only secure fortress is the one that's always being rebuilt.
As we sum up the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Drop a comment of what you would like to see next.